Good evening, guys. I am Sharmishta Kulshrestha, a part of Team Technoids, and today we will begin a Python 30-day learning program. This is the first time that we have planned out a program this extensively, so I think it is only fair that I show you guys how you can reach out to us and what are procedures we will be following and what are the topics that we would be handling. First and foremost, as we will go on about the coding part of this whole session, I request you all to double check your work against our course notebook that we will be providing in GitHub. If you get stuck in some place, do a quick Google search or look up the things on Stack Overflow. See, the thing that I learned right now, being a fourth year student, is you won't remember the different functionalities of that language. There are so many languages, and some companies ask Java to you, some companies ask Python to you, some companies are C and C++ in coding ground, but want you to work in Python. So you cannot remember everything, right? What you do remember is the muscle memory. You won't actively remember things, but you will subconsciously retain those things. So, how will you retain those things? The simple point is by practicing them. You can go on to HackerRank, HackerEarth, CodeChef, LeetCode, Code Forces. These are multiple platforms which provide you questions to start upon these things. If you want to go on to even basic things, looking up more on the documentation of Python or any such language. For Python specifically, I'd say that the documentation is maintained pretty well. It's an open source language, so its libraries are there out there for display for people to learn from, to contribute to. Okay, so for Python and for any other language, for any other technical thing, do a quick Google search. If you get stuck, that's completely normal. Just go on to Google, type up your error, type up your query, and most likely there will be people similar to you who would have the same issues, and you can find them on Stack Overflow. This platform, Stack Overflow, is the most used platform by most of the developers. Even a senior developer would be using it right now because they cannot retain everything. Nobody can. Okay, we are not computers. We do not have endless amount of memory. We do not process things as such. Okay, so do try to do that. Other than that, we will be sending out daily attendance and feedback forms in which you can put out your queries, you can put out your suggestions regarding the session that would have happened that day. You can ask for new topics, you can give us suggestions to inculcate, you can put out your errors and screenshot and send them in the drive. We will check them on a daily basis and we will discuss. Okay. So I think it's fair that I show you guys what schedule we have planned for you. So, if my screen is visible, you'll be seeing a Excel sheet right now. Today, on the 1st of September, we will be handling Python object and data structure basis. And tomorrow also I'll be handling Python comparison operators. Okay. So on and so forth, we have divided many such topics on different individual days, and we have given specific days for feedback and queries. Whatever questions you would be having, whatever issues you would be having, we'll solve them face to face with you. Maybe over multiple sessions, maybe in a single session, depending upon the number of queries. And we will be giving you a assignment notebook to complete prior to the next session. Okay. They'll be very easy questions. You just need to brush up on the topics, what you have learned for that day. Okay. And apart from that, we will be giving you by the mid of the week of a particular session role, we'll be sending out a bit tough on the tough side of the scale some questions which you would need to solve. Those would be generally questions from HackerRank, HackerEarth, or such kind of websites to encourage you guys to see what exactly is out there, what all you can practice. Okay, those are would be the things and feedback and queries we will be discussing. You will have a whole day for yourself, a complete break for you. Okay, and as you can see, most of the Python part would be finished by the day 15 of this course. That is basically after 3 weeks. All right. After 3 weeks, we would be done with the basics of Python. After those 3 weeks, you would know the basics of OOP concept for Python, the modules and packages, error exceptions, the Python modules, parallel processing, and all. Okay, all of these topics would help you both in your own coding development and also in placements or internship opportunities or independent projects. Okay, and then from day 15 onwards, from moving on to day 16, we will be having our data science and machine learning libraries that we'll be teaching you about, like NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, sklearn, and etc. At the end of this whole 30-day session, we will be holding a live hackathon on one of the platforms that I have mentioned before. We'll inform you guys about it by day 20 or so, so that you guys have sufficient time to prepare for it. All right. So that is the overview. That those are all the topics that we'll be conducting. No need to take screenshot or anything. We'll post it in the group if you guys need it. You can just tell us about it in the WhatsApp group that we have created, and then we can share it with you guys. Okay. Now let's move on to what Python is, shall we? Okay. I hope most of you guys have set up Anaconda ID in your system. I do hope so. You can go on to online compilers such as CodeChef's Online IDE or Geek for Geeks Online IDE. There are multiple such platforms that provide online compilers. Using them is also fine, but the benefit of Anaconda or VS Code per se would be that you'll have a complete track record of what you would have done. The files would be automatically saved onto your devices, so you would know what you had done that day. Even for Google Colab, all your Python Jupyter notebooks would be saved in the cloud, so you can access them whensoever you want to. Okay, okay then. Moving on to Python. So Python was developed in 1991 by Guido van Rossum, and currently it is one of the most popular programming languages in the world. Now you may ask, why is it so? Because companies like Apple still uses C in their systems, and many other companies have created their own languages. Then why is Python so beneficial? First and foremost, Python is kind of like you're talking to the computer directly. It does not feel like you're coding per se. Take C for example. You have to take care of the parentheses, you have to take care of the semicolons, you have to take care that there is no other indentation in it. In scanf, you cannot put any other element other than the %s or %d, such kind of elements in it, right? You have to make sure of all of this. Python removes all of that. It says chuck it out of the window. We'll just follow a clean, neat looking programming method. Okay. What Python does is it reduces the amount of code. Okay. First and foremost, Python is an open source language. It is still being contributed by multiple people all over the world. You guys can also someday try and contributing to Python open source libraries. Okay. Other than that, the syntax is very easy to read. Okay, they're just tabular spaces indicating the next line inside of a for loop or a if condition. All right, it has many libraries. It has a library for almost everything you would say. It has a library for GUIs, it has a library for files, it has a library for web scraping, it has libraries for machine learning development. So, all in all, it has a humongous amount of libraries, making it so easy to code that it reduces our code to such a small line, like 2 3 lines and your code will be done. For example, many of the first years would have done C programming language in the college, right? So in that, there is a definite question of reversing a string or reversing an array or something, like that just takes a single line in Python, a single line, that's it. Be it by using built-in methods or be it by using indexing or slicing. Okay, so that's what Python does. So, as we talked about it earlier, we do hope that you have installed the Anaconda distribution. We have sent out the links to understand how to properly install these IDE into your system, and we hope you're ready with us. So, then let's start with the Jupyter notebook, then, shall we? Okay, one second. Now, if my screen is visible to you guys, you can see that there is a folder inside of my desktop folder. Then I've created another folder called as Python. Now you can classify or make as many amount of folders you like. You can name your notebooks anything you want. Okay, it's up to you. It's entirely up to you. I'll be using Jupyter Notebook for the sessions, and if any of you is using Colab or VS Code or some other IDE and are facing some sort of issue there, please do put it in the group. We will try to resolve it as soon as possible. Okay. All right. So for the beginners who are starting for the first time with Jupyter Notebook, click on the new tab, then create a notebook, Python 3. This creates a new notebook. All right, it's taking time. Now I'll just name it as day 1. And don't worry if you're not able to follow up to the coding speed or if it's fast or if it's slow. Bear with me. We'll be uploading all of these files to the GitHub account of our club, and you guys would be provided a link for it too. Okay. Now, as you can see, most of the file changes are say auto save. All right. Or you can just save them. I think is fine. And I'll just remove my head bar and toolbar. Why? Because it gives me more coding space. Alright? Okay, good. Now, first and foremost, let's talk about what all data types are present in Python. Okay? If you guys would have learned C or C++ or any other programming language, there are multiple data types, right? There is, one second. Okay, so let's begin now. Okay, where are we? Yeah, data types. So hash before anything in a Python cell. These are the cells, all right? This would be a singular cell in our Python notebook. And a hash indicates that the things that I'll be writing after it would be a comment. They would not get executed as they are a part of a comment. It's just basically saying something. I'm telling you that this is something like that. Okay. So we'll be talking about data types. Alright. To run a singular cell, you either press Shift and Enter, or you can just do this also. Run cells, run all above, run all below. Alright? Okay, good. Then we have the data types. You would know int as a data type, float, strings, lists, dictionaries, tuples, sets, booleans. These are the kind of data types that we have in Python. Okay, I will write them for you. Int, float, str, string, list, dict for dictionaries, tube for tuples, set, and then bool. Over the course of today and tomorrow, I'll be covering all these data types. Today, I'll be teaching till strings, and then tomorrow, I'll move on to the rest of the data types. Okay? So, first and foremost, let's start with int. Now, when I say the word int, what does it comes to your mind? Okay, it simply says that there would be. Okay, sorry for the error. Okay, now let's talk about int or numbers. Int and float generally indicates the idea that whatever the data type or the element that I will be creating would be something related to numbers. Now in maths, we have what sort of numbers? We have real numbers, we have whole numbers, we have imaginary numbers, we have integers, we have natural numbers. Okay, so for int, we have for int, we have whole numbers. Okay, basically numbers which do not include a what should I say? A dot or a point, basically. Okay, let me create a variable called as num1 and I'll give it the value of 90. Okay, now I'll try to see what my value of number is. It comes out as 90. Now I want to know what exactly is the type of number. Now one comes out as in, okay, as we had processed. Now, apart from in float, there would be real and imaginary numbers also. Now, see, now I try to assign a value as 40 plus 30i. I think it's I or J. Yeah, it would be J. Now I'll run type num. Okay, it comes out as complex. So these all things are not present in C or C++, as far as I'm aware of. If there has been some changes, do ping me up. Okay. So what is the range for these numbers, right? And that's what we are worried about. In integers or even in C, C++, we have to take care about the range of these numbers. Okay, we cannot assign or overload a certain variable. These things we will be talking about much later, but we'll mention about these things in our notebooks that we'll be providing you guys. Alright, so now what all functions can I do with these numbers? I can add two numbers. I can multiply two numbers. I can divide two numbers. Okay, wait. 91 divided by 3. See, it comes out as a float. So my point is that since I have not assigned these values to anything, they're not going to be typecasted as in C happens. Like C. In C, as far as I remember, 91 and 3 both are integers. When they are to be divided, the result should be an integer itself. That is, that it should have only the value before the decimal point, not after the decimal point. But Python does not care about it. It does its dynamic casting and dynamic memory locate. Sorry, forget that. It just goes about and tells you the result. It does not care what exactly you had given as the input. If it's coming out as a float, it's showing you as a float. Okay. Okay. Now, apart from these things, there would be subtraction, right? A negative number, integer itself. Now, there is one operator that you would have not learnt about in C. That would be the modulo operator. Now, say that you are given a very large number and you have to find out if it's divisible by another number which table you're not that familiar with. For say, let's take a large number 7843 modulo 17. What do you guys think? is this number divisible by 17 or not? Honestly, I'll take a calculator to check that. It is divisible. Wow. Okay, so as you see, we did not need to do any such complex calculation or take out the calculator to check it out. Whether or not a number is divisible or not would be provided by the modulo operator. Sorry, it's not divisible. If this number would happen, if 7843 was divisible by 17, the output would have come as 6. Okay, because what the modulo operator does simply is to give out the remainder from the division. Okay, per se, I'm dividing 3 by 2. If I divide these two numbers, the remainder would be 1. That's what our modulo operator returns. Okay. Now, apart from the normal division, let's say I have given integers and I definitely just want an integer output to it. I just want the quotient in an integer form. I do not want this extra decimal points. Okay, so what do? I do 91 floor division by 3 and I get 30. Just the decimal part, just the integer part of it, of the division. Alright? Now, what all the things that we can do? We can put numbers into powers. 4 raised to the power of 5. Cool. Now, especially, I want to make it under root. Okay. What would I need to do then? 4 under root 0.5. What would that result in? 2.0. Okay. No, see, here the output comes as a float. That's not the point. Point is that since we needed to do it, it's under root. We just raising that particular number to a power. Now, say I wanted to raise it to the qubit root. Okay, so I'll do it as 1 by 3 and close my parenthesis. That's the qubit root for 4. Okay, so and so on. We can move on with such kind of mathematical operations that we have. Now, I talked a bit about variable assignment, right? A bit here, nouns and all. Okay, now let's talk properly about variable assignment. In every language, there are certain rules that one must follow while doing variable assignment. Now, what are the rules for Python? They are pretty simple actually. It's the same as C. You cannot include any special character in the variable name. The variable name should contain of letters, numerals, or underscore. Alright. Apart from that, these variables do not generally contain any other special character. Now, moving on to the point that what is a variable? Like these are the things that will be first taught to you in the class, right? Variable is basically naming a memory space in my storage that okay, I choose you to be called as num1 and you will be storing this particular value. And to call that particular memory again, I would just need to say num1 come here. I would need to know the address of that particular memory location to extract the data that I have stored there. Got it? Okay, one second. Now, as we were talking about variable assignment, I gave you a brief idea, right, of what exactly variable assignment is, why it happens, why do we name it, basically. Okay, so in C or C++, you need to predefine what data type you are using the variable for. For instance, in C, you will write something like int number. Okay, you'll assign it like this, or then you will put in some value. Okay, but you don't do that in Python. It does not need you to do that. Alright. There are multiple ways in which you can assign a variable its data type. All right. And other than that, there is this thing called as dynamic typing in Python. In this process, what Python does is it can reassign the data type to the variable. For instance, say I take my variable var1 as 78.10. Okay, now what would be the type of var1 for me? It would be a float. Now I say no. You know what? I'll use var1 as a string. Okay, I'll say hello. And now what is the type of my var1? Right. I did not need to do any changes. If we would have done something like this in C or C++, it would have shown an error to us because we cannot reassign data types to a variable in that language. Although we can do it in Python, there are pros and there are cons to this concept also. Like it's very easy to work with, right? You don't need to necessarily always remember, okay, it was variable, okay, it was this variable was int, this variable was float. No, you're just working with it, it's easier for you. But what it may result into is unexpected bugs. Sometime you'll be writing a long code and you might forget what exactly was the data type you initially assigned to that variable, and then in middle of the code you would have changed the data type. All right, now you are assuming that its initial data type is still present and you use it in that sense. It will throw an error and it would be difficult for you to debug the whole code in that way. Alright, now then moving on. Say I name a variable 1. I give it a value of 5. Now, when I do this, it'll show me what the data is stored in that variable. Yeah, one more thing I forgot to tell you, that apart from the naming restrictions of not included any special characters in it, we also cannot use any of the special built-in keywords. Okay, now you'll be like, how would we know that this is a special built-in keyword? Like I think there are 40 or so built-in keywords for Python for a generic Python. Then if you go on to modules that you will be importing, there would be many other such kind of keywords. All right. So for that, say, do you think guys is bool keyword or not? Just type it. Your IDE will tell you that no, dude, look, it's a keyword. You cannot use it as a data type variable name. So I just add a one or something and I make it as a variable. You can also do that. Okay, and generally it's a more common practice to name the variable in small letters. All right, and sometimes when we are going to move on to global variables and all, they are named in capitalized letters. Okay. They are not denoted by small case letters, they are denoted by uppercase letters, capitalized. Okay. All right. Then you would have seen something like this in C++, or some other language, or even if you wouldn't have, C, A plus A, or say A is equals to 5. Now I do A equals to A plus A. Now what it would do, it will take the value of A, place it here 5 and 5, and then assign that new value to A itself. That becomes 10. Similar to this, you can shorten this whole expression. You can write it as A plus is equals to A. You can either write it as this, okay, or you can write it, you can subtract some value like this. Now A becomes 0. I subtract the entire value. Okay. Or say a, I'm again assigning it as 10, and then I do a multiplication of 20. Okay, and then I print out my a value. It becomes 2. So we can easily reassign the values to the variables like this. To check out the type of a particular variable, I have already told you about the type function. You can use it to clarify your doubts regarding a certain variable that you would have created. Okay. Now, now we'll move on to our next data type, that would be strings. Okay. Strings are said to be immutable data type. Now, what does that mean? That what's immutable? What does that stand for? Immutable basically means that you cannot edit it. Okay, you can completely erase it. You can completely change it, but you cannot take certain specific parts of the whole variable data and change it. Okay. If you do that, it would end up showing you as an error. Okay. Now, say I'll name my variable as string 1 and I'll say hello. Okay. And then I'll name another variable string 2 and I'll enclose it in single commas. I'll enclose it in single commas. Now I'll take another string and I'll enclose it in double and I'll write won't you go out? Okay. Now, tell me one thing. Will any of this will show an error? You can type it in the chat box. We will look into it later. Okay. Do you guys think any of these three would show an error? They won't. In C or C++, it's a notion that you have to enclose a printf statement or a scanf statement inside of double quotes itself. Okay. Sorry. You cannot use single quotes or something. Maybe some compilers allow that, but generally the compilers that I have used as per now, you have to use double quotes to include the string part of it. Okay. Now when I run this and I try to print out my values, it comes out as a string 2. Oh, wait a second. String 2. Alright. See, it doesn't show in any error. Now, what is this beneficial part of these double quotes or single quotes, even going as far as triple quotes or four quotes? Thing is, say I'm trying to write a sentence and it has multiple quotes inside of it. Okay, okay, let me try this one. String quote. I'll enclose it in single quotes. Now I'll write, what should I write? I don't know where they went. Okay, shouldn't it be proper? No, it is not. Why? Because this one single quote is telling that this starting single quote that okay, fine, enclose only this much part as the string part of it. Enclose this much data to my string for variable. The rest of it, I don't know what it is. Okay. Now, if I run this, I'll show an error. Why? It's an invalid syntax because this part is enclosed. It's fine. But what about this whole part? It's not being enclosed or it's not being assigned to anything. It's not after a hash sequence so that it could be taken as a statement. Okay. Or a comment. It's just there out there. It's just garbage data. It's just lying around. Hence, hence the interpreter shows an error to you. Now, what do we need to do for it to be enclosed inside of it? I can either do this It still shows an error. So I'll do this. I add a single quote in. And now it does not show any error. And when I print my string 4, it comes out as that. Okay. So this is the point of the part that we can include double quotes or single quotes or triple quotes for printing out my string. All right. Okay. Then next one. Okay. This is not just in particular for strings or strings in particular. It's for any variable. See, when I am getting this output, I don't know where they went or whatsoever hello and all. Whatever corresponding quotes are there, they're coming out, right? If there is an inner quote inside of it, the corresponding outer quotes are also printed out, right? This is just showing me the output. I'm not using a print statement. Okay, so if I want to print multiple, show see the output for multiple strings such as that. So if I do this, will it show me an output? It would show the output of the last variable. Okay, I think I have assigned a variable 1 up in the notebook, and what else? A num. Okay, I have assigned a num. If I print these two, the num gets printed. Num was a complex one, variable, right? That value gets printed. Whatever would be the last variable I'll write in that particular cell, that will show its output. Okay. So to see the outputs of such multiple variables, what will we do? We'll need to use the print statement. Okay. Now, print statement, we can directly put in our variable name and it will print out our output. Okay. Or we can print out multiple outputs in a single cell. Print just hello, hello, want to go out? I don't know where they went. All of these outputs are showcased outside of a single cell. Why? Because we are using the print statement. We're not asking or demanding to see the output of a particular variable. We are giving the command of show us the output of these variables. Output in the sense shows the data that these variables are storing. Alright? Good. Then, moving on, let's learn some basics about string. We have a built-in function to know the length of a string variable. Well, we have that particular function with other objects also, other data types also, but for now, let's talk about string. Okay, now how do we use the length variable? We type in our length, we give it the parenthesis, and then we type in our variable name, and it gives us the output of the length of the string. Now, this length of the string could be stored in some variable and could be used in iteration, it could be used as a condition, and so on and so forth. Okay, this is a built-in function. You don't need to do any coding as such. Like in C, you have to include a specific library string.c to use these kinds of function. Otherwise, you would need to use a for loop to know exact length of the string. Alright, in Python, you don't need to do that. Okay. Now, the thing that I first mentioned when we started talking about string, it was immutability. I told you that a string cannot be edited, but it can be completely changed. Okay. I'll take a string called as education. Okay, tell me guys, will this show an error? It most likely would. Why is it showing an error? Because the string is supposed to be enclosed in upper quotes. Alright? Alright. Now, I want to know the first letter of the string. Okay? Now, in string, each element of the string is indexed. What does indexing basically means is that each letter in this string is given a particular number of its position. Okay. Now, string 1 is stored in a memory location called as string 1. After that, each of these characters are also given 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as such numerical values to be accessed. Okay. Now, how can I access this U? Okay. In Python, the indexing starts from 0. So, to access this U, I need to count its position starting from E is equals to 0, 1, and 2. If I do this, what will I get? I get my U out. Okay. So on and so forth we can do. And now say I want to get this off. Okay. Okay, then doesn't it become a tedious task? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7 would be its index number if you count it from 0, right? We get a row. But instead of counting from the start, we can see that it's the second last position, right? So we can do it like this: string 1 minus 2. And I'll get the output as O. Why? Why? Because this last character in this string would also have the index value as -1. Like from last to start, if we go, we'll go from negative indexing. If from start to end we go from zero indexing. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3. From the start, from the back side, we go as -1, -2, -3, and so on and so forth. Understood? All right then. Now, say I want to get particular part of the string. All right. Like I want to get this cat out of education. How do I do that? Now, for that we'll do slicing. Now I'll write my string one name. I'll just copy it. I don't want to type this anymore. Okay. Okay, string 1 is here. Now I want to get the cat out of education. 0, 1, 2, 3. The starting index for my cat string is 3. So I'll start with 3, going on with A, T, 4 and 5. Okay, now I'll put in 5. Okay. What's the output? It's showing as CA. Why is it not CAT? Why? Because the last element, because this thing simply tells Python that look, I'll start from 3, but I won't include the letter at the position of 5. Okay. So to get T also, we need to index it till 6. Hence, I'll get cat. Okay. Say I want to get edu out of it. Okay, then I'll do 0, 1, 2, and 3. Why? Because if I do 2, then u would not be included in it. See, edu. Since it is from the starting, I do not need to mention the particular starting point. This is the starting point position. This is the end point position. Now, in this whole method, there is other beneficial methods also. But first, let me show you one thing. Cool thing. If I do this, what does it show me? It shows me the last letter. And what if I do this? It shows the whole string excluding the last letter, right? Now, what if I do this? It reverses the whole string. Remember, I spoke about it initially that in Python you just need to write a single line of code to reverse a whole string. This is it. What is it exactly doing? It's saying that start from the last index, like it has not mentioned any of the indexes in the start and stop position. So it's telling that, okay, you know what? Take the whole string. Okay, I'll take the whole string. Then what is this section? This is the section of skipping. It basically gives in the variable of counting. Like, okay, if it's -1, it will start counting from the back. Okay. And what if I do it like this? It will give me the output as after every two variable. See. Okay. Once again. Yeah. Okay. Education is here. It started from the initial variable. It will be going till the end. Now it will count after every two. It will skip one in between. E, then it skipped D. It came to U. It skipped C. It came to A. It skipped T. It came to I. It skipped O. Then came to N. This is skipping. Like include every second element of the string, original string, and give that to me as the output. That's what this thing does. Alright? I suppose this is all clear to you guys. Now, let's move on to immutability. Okay. Okay. Now I'll name my string as what? Hmm, Flyberry. Okay. Now I want to make this B as a capital B. What do you think? Can I do this? Um, let's find the index value of B 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So S of 3, I want to make it as a capital B. So I'll put in the index value of that particular thing. I'll put in the value. Now, what does it show? STR object does not support item assignment. Okay. It's like, why? Because it's immutable. Immutable basically means you cannot edit out the particular section of the whole string, okay? But you can completely change the string. Now see this. Okay, it's flyberry. Okay, let's make it blueberry. Okay, now I'll add this blue plus S. I want to include berry. So I'll be starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, and I want it till the end, and I don't want it to be skipping anything. Okay? Hence, I'll put that and I'll be slicing that part of my string, and then let's see what the output is. It comes out as blueberry. So, what does this show you? It simply shows that although I can completely change the value that my variable was holding, I cannot change certain sections of it. Alright? This is basically concatenation in a sense, which you can use later on. Okay. Now, say you want to create a variable in which there are 1000 z's. Okay. How would you do that? Okay, I'll put in as S2 is equals to Z or 1000. Will this work? So let's check out. I don't need to type Z 1000 times. It just does it for me. Okay, so you can also try this. Alright, now then moving on to some built-in functions, some other built-in functions apart from length. Now we have already assigned S2 strings as variables, right? Now if I do S dot tab, why is it not showing? Yeah, here it comes. These are all the built-in functions that I can use. Okay. You can go on to Python documentation to know more about all of these functions. Okay. Not all of these functions will be used, but there are some which you might find interesting. You can look it up online. Okay, I'll just be telling you guys about the basics of the basics. Okay, now I want to make my initial blueberry as all capital. Now what do I do? It comes out as capital. But tell me one thing: has my original string value changed? It hasn't. This s dot upper, what it does is for the momentous timing, it gives out the output as whatever its function pertains to. If it is going to do uppercase, then all of the value that it has been given would be turned into uppercase. Now, what if my string had some numerals? Okay, now let me put it as A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, and some other special symbols. Okay, now I do s dot upper. See, all of the alphabetical part would be converted into uppercase, but all of these values would not be retained in my original variable. If you want to store it in some other variable, you can store it in some other variable. See, s1 is equals to this, then I'll type print s1 and print s. See, original value is retained and I can assign s1 to the upper value, uppercase value of my original string. Okay. Similar to dot upper, we have dot lower. It lowercases the whole string. Then we have something called as dot split. Okay. Now for that, let me write a sentence. SQ is equals to today I am taking a session on Python programming for my peers at RNSIT. Alright? Now say I want a list. Okay, we'll talk about what a list is and everything in the later part of the course. I want to create a list. I want a list of all the individual words that I have used. Okay, how would I do that? Think about it. It has a built-in function for it. SQ dot split. Today I am okay. Now, as you're saying this parenthesis, we can put in some values in it. Okay. For example, I don't want any of the A's. I hate A's. So what would I do? I'll say on the basis of A, split the whole string. What this will do is right now, it is splitting the string on the basis on occurrence of a blank space, this simple space. Okay, so wherever there is a space, that word is being stored in my list. Now, when I am putting in a as the input for this function, what this would do is it would create A as the benchmark for exclusion. Like it would take A as the benchmark to separate each word. Okay. Now it will create the spaces would be included. See, space TOD. After that, by I and a space. Then from A it gets separated, and so on and so forth. Understood? So, say that there could be a number in that string that you're working on, and you want to split your string on that particular number. So, you can use this function for that. Okay? Now, now comes a part which would be very important for you. It's simply printing out your data. Okay. Uh, for our milestone projects, it would be important for you. And if you guys go into competitive coding, it won't be as such important for you as you'll be focusing more towards solving the test cases and all, right? So for now, I'll just tell you like what are the different methods in which you can print out something in Python. Okay. Now, you all remember percent %s and percent %d, percent %f kind of things? What were they called? They were called placeholders, right? Modulo and that particular small letter, which would signify that particular data type in that language, and we will print out our information that we would like to showcase. Now I'll say I am going to person X. Okay. Okay. Now, how would our interpreter know that what is it that it needs here? Okay. For that, we can do this. This is one of the method of printing. This is not a sure short method. There are multiple ways in which you can print in Python. Okay. I am going to playground. Okay. Now, what do you guys expect would be the output? It will simply replace the percentage with this string, whatever that I have put. Now, say, I put in here Wonderland. It will print on Wonderland. Okay, you can do so, and even if it's not a single element, you can also put in multiple elements. How? The number of elements that you have put in here should be equal to the number of placeholders you have put in here. Okay. So after this, sorry, at a person, yes, at at in. Now what is the show? I'm going to Wonderland and evening. So you can put in multiple elements here, and the number of elements should be equal to the number of placeholders. If it's not, then what happens? Let's see. Python tells you, ki, oh no, not all arguments are converted during string formatting. That means you need to put another placeholder here. Okay. Now then, there are other such methods, and apart from this, there are Enscape sequences. Now, what is Enscape sequences? There are particularly two most used Enscape sequences called as slash backslash t and backslash n. Sometimes you are writing a sentence and you want to switch on to another line, right? So, how would you do that? Simply print desktop slash e pulsarist slash n and site. See, all this looks so weird, right? It's so heebie-jeebie. Everything is accumulated at one single sentence. It's not separated. It does not look good, right? Now see the output. The backslash t includes four backspaces inside the two words that I have created, and backslash n tells the interpreter to print on the next line. Okay, that's what these two backspace sequences do. Okay. Okay. Now, since we have, I've told you about escape sequences, let's move on to printing with dot format method. This is something that I prefer a lot. And yeah, one more thing in this is you can use it to print out your variables also. Now I had person D here, right? I'll just put in, what was the name of any variable with the num type? That'll be A. Okay. A number is required, not str. Sorry, I kept it in. Okay, now it should work. I'm going to do 100 in evening. Whatever the value of that variable was, get replaced in that placeholder's place. Okay. So you can do it in either this way or in this way with dot format method. It's more clear according to me to use this dot format method. I'll just copy paste this whole thing. Okay. Okay. Now here, you'll need wheresoever you had placed your placeholders earlier, you need to put curly braces. Alright? Then dot format. Okay, this is the basic syntax method of writing all of this. Okay, you got this. Now say I want to print evening first and then I want to print the value inside of A. Okay, you can do that too. Consider that this is some element which will start with indexing 0 and 1. So I'll print here 1 to print evening before and then 0 to print A here. It gets replaced, right? Okay, this is one method, and then what else? Okay, yeah, you can do this also. See, I have this whole string literal. I'll place it here and I'll assign evening to B. Okay, and instead of writing 1 here, I'll say B. Now I get the same output. So you can edit it many ways here using dot format method. Now the last method for printing that I want to discuss is f strings or f string literals method. Okay, it's kind of like an abbreviation of the dot format method, and I don't know, I prefer the dot format method over this. Okay, so I'll show you how you have to print in this method. You place a f before the string that you are going to be printing, and I'll just write this inside of it. Okay, now here I can put a, and here because a is a variable which I had assigned up way above in the notebook, and I'll just say some variable 1. Okay, I had a variable 1, right? All right then. What would be the output? I'm going to 5 and 200. Basically, the values get replaced. You don't need to put out any such dot format and put in the parentheses and putting in the values there. You can do it like this, or you can do it like in the dot format method. Okay. All right. Then there is one more important thing when printing floating point numbers. You need to take into consideration the precision, right? Okay. My bank balance is, I'll keep this here. Okay. And then what? And this, okay, I'll explain in all three methods then. Let's start with the dot format method. All right. I want a precision of zero point 0.2 basically. 0.2 precision basically means that after the decimal point, there should be two elements that should be printed out. Okay, so I'll do it like this. And I type dot format. Let's say 39.484678. Okay, comma rupees. Alright. Now, what would it print now? Will it print the whole decimal section after this? No, it won't. See, in total, okay, I should add a space here, okay? Yeah, better now. So, what it does here is this element 10. This 10 tells us that there should be a total of 10 spaces that should be taken up by this whole variable value. Okay, how? You see, there are 5 spaces in between the colon. Till here there would be 5 spaces, and then these 5 individual values are taking the next 5 spaces, hence a total of 10. Then the point 2 is the precision. Okay, it automatically rounds it off. 4.678, it's above 5, so it's rounding off it as 7, right? All right. So, and the 0 signifies the 0th value here, 1 signifies this value, and it gets printed in place. Okay, the first method that we used in this was the simple place formatting using placeholder method, right? Okay, I'll just tell you guys with that also. Now, tell me what would be the placeholder for my this thing. Okay, okay, fine. I'll show you. F is the percentage F signifies the placeholder. Okay. I'm sorry, my bad. The percent S only you need to write. Then let's remove this, right? We can leave it here. Okay, fine. Let's just we leave it here. Percent S. There is no need for format. We just need to put it as percent, right? Sorry about the string comment earlier. This is the we can like if I do it as S, even then it would print out that 39.4678. Like it'll take it as a string and do it. Uh, and if I do this, it prints it out. Okay. And what if I did it with S? It prints out the complete value. Like it will take that float data and consider it as string and print it out. All right. But I wanted it in precision, so I want 5 spaces. In total of 5 spaces. I want this data to be consuming, so I do 5.2f. Okay, and it prints it out like this. Now I have told you about dot format method. I've told you about the placeholder method. Now it takes me to the final f literal method. Okay, I take my string. I remove all of this and this. Right. I do need the parenthesis. Okay. I add a F here. Now, I need its precision, right? We don't put in any, values here. Generally, we just put in whatever data we want printed out, right? So, right now here, I'll remove this. And for this, I'll print. What should I do? Okay, one second now. I'll create two variables. PV is equals to 39.678 and ST is equals to rupees. Now I'll put in PV and SD. It gives you the same output. So I have so to summarize today, I have taught you guys about the numbers, like what are the types of numbers, complex, int, float, and then variable assignments, the rule of variable assignment. Then we talked about strings, their immutability, string indexing, string slicing. Then we went on to the topic of formatting with strings. Formatting with strings basically printing out our output by using placeholder method, by using dot format method, by using f literal strings method. All right. Okay. So that'll be all for today, guys. Tomorrow I'll take up the other data types, list, tick, tuples, sets, booleans, and the operators used in Python. Okay. All right. I request you guys to sincerely do the end of the day assignments that we guys will be providing you in the Google Classroom, and they'll be taken into consideration as attendance for those days, and as well as the feedback forms would be taken into consideration for attendance. The students who will show complete attendance will be the ones getting the certificates. Okay. I hope you guys understood what I tried to teach you guys today. Thank you.